Alright, hey everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. As you can see, I have now decorated my weeb cave in all its full glory. Just kind of ignore the little trash pile and stuff kind of left over there. Still got a few things to clear out. A few quick kind of channel notes and things before we get into the content of this video proper. So the first being, apologize. I know I've been kind of MIA on the channel. I know I've also said I've been planning to do a bunch of read-throughs, and I haven't delivered. But honestly, it has just been a really, really long 3 weeks for numerous reasons. The first of which was kind of like more positive news, but no less tiring, which was I managed to get back into full-time work again at the end of October. Kind of came as a surprise to me, so I had to scramble to get things ready so I could go back to work and kind of take care of some household stuff. So that kind of took a drain on me. Then there was some mini personal family emergency stuff that also happened. So that also kind of took a toll. And that even though I'm not an American, as your neighbor to the north, the U.S. elections did a good number on me that I don't think I really felt until days after the results were actually called. We find out Biden did win. So I think all the anxiety and kind of tension and everything surrounding that kind of caught up to me all at once. The effect of which has just been after working all day, coming back home, I just haven't had the time or energy to devote to the channel in the way that I want to. But I'm going to do my best to change that going forward. I'm going to try to be better about actually uploading content, not, over promising things like that. So with that said, I'm probably not going to do anything this weekend apart from the typical One Piece reaction on Sunday, just because I want to kind of relax and recuperate before I dive back into things properly. So the weekend, November 21st, 22nd, expect content to come back, start flowing back in then. So I'll have read-throughs and everything for that weekend. I'll have a proper channel update this Saturday. I promise this time I will have it up with a proper schedule and possible timings and things like that. So look forward to all that. I think that's most of the news. So let's dive into the content of this video, as it were. So quick TLDR for anyone that has been avoiding the news and doesn't know what's going on. So the author of Toriko, Mitsutoshi Shimabukuro, has a new series debuting in Shonen Jump, which in and of itself wouldn't be noteworthy were it not for the fact that he is a convicted pedophile. So I think it was back in 2008, if memory serves me correctly. Let me just look that up really quick. The fact that the second result that comes up for his, if you search up his name, is Toriko author jail, is not a great thing already. Oh yeah, so 2002, he was arrested and convicted of violating child prostitution laws because he basically solicited a 16-year-old girl to have sex with him, and he paid her 80,000 yen to do so. So basically his series was cancelled by Weekly Shonen Jump after that, and he was supposed to be sentenced to 2 years in prison, but that basically was suspended. He basically got a slap on the wrist, and then nothing much else happened. And then so the reason though, like, people are up in arms about it, apart from the fact that Shimabukuro is a convicted pedophile and he should have no business being published in Shonen Jump, is that it's not even, like half a year since the author of Act Age, was it Tatsuya something. Let me look this up quickly as well. So the author of Act 8, Tatsuya Watsuki, was also convicted and arrested of basically sexual molestation, where he was basically riding his bike around the ward of Tokyo, and he was groping underage girls that were just walking back from school. So he didn't even try to, pretend that he wasn't guilty or try to lie about it or anything. He basically accepted all the charges. He was convicted, and Shueisha or Shonen Jump and then Viz Media immediately canceled publication of Act Age. So the series was completely dropped from the magazine. Viz said that they were not going to be publishing any more of the Act Age volumes. So there was a huge outcry, and the art, because it was an author artist team up that was doing Act Age. So the artist came out. She publicly condemned the author for what he did. She sent her condolences to the victim, and she said she was fine with everything being canceled. So it's extremely hypocritical of Viz and Shonen Jump after that fact to then give another convicted pedophile, a chance to kind of debut in Shonen Jump and give him an opportunity to publish his work. And for those of you who are not familiar, I don't know how this could possibly be the case, but Nobuhiro Watsuki, the creator of Rurouni Kenshin, was also charged with child pornography charges. I've mentioned this in a previous video I did where I talked about misogyny at Shonen Jump, and I talked about the fact, that Watsuki had so much porn in his office that they suspected intent to distribute. And he basically got a slap on the wrist fine of like 200,000 yen, which was like a couple of $1,000s, and nothing else. And so at this point, there's a few kind of different things I think I kind of want to talk about and address, not like super in depth, like I just want to touch on. At this point, Viz and Shonen Jump kind of just showed their asses about how hypocritical their supposed commitment to the values, how to their values are, and how much they actually care and will support the victims of all these authors, and what that means to them. As long as they can print money, that doesn't seem to really matter to them. So that was the first kind of like big thing, is all right, this is one of those things where it's like, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's disappointing but not surprising that they would go this route. But yeah, so that's the first kind of thing, but that's not really kind of like the main video or topic I wanted to touch on. I've retweeted some other people on Twitter who've already kind of put their own thoughts and stuff out there on this. So you look at that if you'd like. What I really wanted to talk about in this video was kind of tangentially related to a couple of other things. The biggest one of which was one of my friends under Shonen Jump's kind of announcement for the new Toriko series. They commented that, hey, Jump really sure does kind of promoting and publishing pedophiles in their magazine. And of course, like clockwork, out of the woodwork came all those chuds talking about, oh, Shonen SJWs are ruining manga and separate the author from the artist. But the one kind of argument that I kept getting tossed out repeatedly that really annoyed me, not because parts of it were invalid, because of the way it was being used, was they're basically going, oh, well, how can you support, One Piece and Ichiro Oda, and then go turn around and kind of condemn these authors for what they did, when Oda's a convicted pedophile himself, which is completely not true. It's a fabrication. They were talking about the fact like, oh, Oda supported these two authors. He helped them stage their comebacks for Shonen Jump. He's best friends with them. And that's what really kind of bugged me about this, is the straw manning argument they used, where they're kind of trying to divert attention away from the real issue, which is Shonen Jump has a pedophile problem, to trying to make it sound like everyone that's condemning these people are hypocrites for supporting an author who has close personal ties to them. And this is the part of the video where I have to say, like, I am loath to kind of do this in any regard, but I feel like I have to so I can kind of talk about more of the nuances of this. Yeah, while Oda is friends with two convicted pedophiles, that doesn't mean that he condones their actions. You know, being friends with someone doesn't mean that you condone everything that they do. That said, a bunch of caveats related to that. We do need to talk about the fact that Oda is friends with two convicted pedophiles, and he has gone out of his way to promote their work and talk about how good they are and how great they are, try to help them stage their comebacks. And yet he hasn't at any point publicly condemned the fact that they were both convicted pedophiles or condemned their actions in any regard. And we need to talk about why One Piece fans are so uncomfortable talking about what that really means with regards to kind of Oda's own values and what he supports and what he can ignore and excuse and overlook. Because the thing is, I've seen a lot of fans kind of defend him with the argument of, you know, personal relationships are complicated and complex, and Watsuki was a big influence on Oda. You know, Ronin Kenshin was a big influence on a lot of people. Oda was the man's assistant for many, many years. Like, he was the one that got him his start. It was a big influence on his own series. They're close personal friends for years. So on the one hand, it's kind of understandable why he'd be kind of apprehensive about publicly condemning and calling out his mentor, you know, for what he did, given their close personal relationship. And to an extent, I understand where they're coming from with the idea that yes, personal relationships are complex. We see this a lot, you know, with abusive families and things. Not that I'm kind of comparing or equating the two, but I'm just kind of providing more examples. Abusive relationships being one. Like, yeah, I can see how you could make an argument for why these, or how complex these relationships can be, and how they're not always manifesting in healthy ways. There's arguments to be made for that. But the fact that the artist for Act Age was willing to put her career on the line, you know, was willing to put her livelihood on the line, and that she has far significantly less of a cultural reach and impact than Ichiro Oda does. And the fact that she was willing to loudly and publicly condemn the author for what he had done and stand in support of the victims. And the fact that Oda couldn't even bring himself to do that much is worthy of examining closer with regards to, you know, his own personal politics. And the thing is, I don't know if people would have seen this the same way if, say, Oda had decided to remain completely silent on the issue and hadn't done anything to promote Watsuki or Shimabukuro, and had just kind of stayed silent and hadn't done, you know, the whole promotional thing or anything like that. I feel like people would be a lot less uncomfortable with that, because I think that way they kind of justify his silence with the idea that you don't know what he's doing in the background, you know, behind the scenes, to kind of try to help potentially rehabilitate both of them. But the fact that he hasn't done that, and he has kind of just been loudly in support, well, not loudly, but the fact that he has been shown to support them kind of does speak volumes. And I think fans need to really grapple with that. And I think that they don't want to, because of the impact of One Piece and that Oda's had on themselves personally, I don't think they want to examine what. I don't think they want to examine, or at least ask the question, what would they do if news does come out about Oda, that requires you to kind of re-examine your thoughts and beliefs about what kind of person he is and what his politics are like. And I don't think people are ready to kind of do that and kind of sit in their uncomfortableness of that kind of topic and the nature of it, if that makes sense. I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but I think the broader point I want to make with regards to this, with regards to like everything I kind of brought up at this point, is if we as anime and manga fans want to fundamentally change the industry, or at least pressure them to move in a better direction, and I know there's like a lot of arguments and counter arguments with regards to this, regarding how we're not the target audience and how we shouldn't be trying to push our own politics onto Japan, stuff like that, ignoring all of that. But if we want to promote a more positive culture, if we want to do away with the rampant misogyny and sexism and the kind of culture that thinks it's okay to overlook and support and publish, convicted sex offenders and pedophiles, we really kind of have to examine whether there is a way to even change a system like that. And if so, how are we going to change it? And if not, are we going to divest ourselves of it, or are we going to still contribute and kind of wring our hands and say we can't possibly do anything about it because we're powerless? And I think that's a conversation we need to have with regards to this, because it's become clear at this point that there is a cultural issue there. When I mean cultural, like I mean inside Shonen Jump, like not Japan cultural, but like inside the kind of workspace that is Shonen Jump. The fact that 3 pedophiles, like one would be too many. 2 is kind of like pushing the envelope. The fact that they had 3 convicted pedophiles coming from the same magazine sets off all kinds of red flags, and we really need to examine what kind of culture is allowing them to either thrive or go unnoticed, and how do we make sure that we root them out to make sure that they don't have purchase and they actually do face consequences for their actions, and are held to account for what they've done. But yeah, I don't know. Like I just wanted to get that. I wanted to get that out there because the problem with Twitter is like there's never really any room for nuance on Twitter as a platform. So you have all these, like I mentioned, all these chuds coming on there that have kind of like legitimate arguments kind of buried in a sea of little filth that they use to kind of try to undermine legitimate criticisms of problematic, policies and cultures that are entrenched in kind of the anime manga fandom. So I think we need to really, if we want to change it, we need to be talking about the ways we can do that, if we can at all. But yeah, honestly, I in good conscience, I know like this is not going to have a major impact on Viz's bottom line. It's probably not going to make like a huge impact or make them take notice in any regard. But for myself personally, I can't in good conscience at least support them financially with my Shonen Jump subscription. I know it's only like $3 a month or whatever, but honestly, I just can't when some of that money will be going towards supporting, Shimabukuro, and I'll be going towards supporting Watsuki. So I'm gonna have to do some thinking about the future of Shonen Jump on my channel specifically. I don't know if the kind of compromise I'm gonna have to make is just that I'll cut off my subscription, but if people do enjoy the content, I'll just react to the free chapters which I have access to without paying for it, to kind of at least get me out of the way if I'm not financially supporting Shonen Jump or Viz in any way. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it just makes me so mad when we see this. Like, it's unsurprising but disappointing, I think, is the best way I can put it. And I just felt like I had to get some thoughts out there because initially I was going to write a mini thread with my thoughts, but I feel like this video kind of made them a little bit more cohesive and easier to consume. But like I said, I know I rambled. If any of this came off as too confusing or didn't, if there's something you want clarification on, I'm more than willing to talk about it in a separate video. But I hope my points got across. I'll end it by saying, please don't support Shimabukuro and his new work. It's entirely up to you. I can't force you to do anything. So if you're going to continue your Shonen Jump subscription, just because you don't want everyone else involved in the process who may not agree with it to be screwed over, that's your call. I can't really say anything about that. But yeah. With that said, I'm gonna try, probably not this year, but next year maybe. I'm going to try to do some more roundtable discussions about this because I know a couple of friends expressed interest in that, so look forward to that. Yeah, I'll try to put a few of those together. Like I said, I'll have a channel update out this weekend with schedules, dates, times, and everything like that. And till next time, this is Ash. I'll talk to you all later.